Well, 2016 has come and gone, and for most of us, I think we're pretty happy about that because, for the most part, 2016 kinda sucked. Unless you were an anime fan. Surprisingly, anime was really good this year, and these are my top 5 best animes of 2016. Now, before we get into the list, a couple of ground rules. First rule being that it must have started in 2016 for it to be considered to be on this list, no OVAs or shorts, and remember the simple fact that I am just one human. Your favorite anime this year may not have ended up being on this list, because, well, I'm one person, I have a job, I have a life. There's only so many animes that I can watch at a time. But with that being said, these are my top 5 animes of 2016.
Number 5.
ReZero was definitely one of the animes people were talking about when it was airing. I mean, a shut-in otaku with no real-world experience magically getting thrown into another dimension where he's automatically the cool guy? What a totally original idea! But despite its really obvious and cliche storyline, ReZero does take that cliche and put a really dark spin on it. You see, when Natsuki, our main character, gets killed, he essentially respawns to his last save point. Unfortunately, every time Natsuki respawns to his last save point, he slowly goes, in lack of a better term, insane. It is an interesting concept that does kind of get explored. And I mean kind of as in barely brushed at. You see, ReZero is based on a continuing light novel series, so unfortunately this anime series ends on a very awkward note. We still really don't know why by the end of it, why Natsuki is where he is. A lot of characters haven't gotten closure, and there's just a lot of open space. And a lot of people are hoping that there's gonna be a season 2 of this, but understand, in the world of anime, there is never a complete chance of a second season happening. I mean, we just got confirmation that the second season of Attack on Titan's coming out. That's a 4-year-old anime, people. But yeah, because of ReZero's really awkward ending and having plots completely open to interpretation, I had to put this at the bottom of the list, but it's still on my best list because I really do think you should check it out. It's definitely not the first anime I would suggest you watch from this year, but if you're having a binge watching marathon, I definitely suggest ReZero. ReZero. I think we all can agree that Rem was best girl.
Number 4.
I love food, I love anime, of course Food Wars was gonna end up on this list. Food Wars Season 2 is literally a continuation of the first season, which is Soma, the main character, going to a big Iron Chef themed high school, where everything is just overzealous and boobs. A lot of unnecessary cleavage, but whatever, guess it gets people watching. Now, I hold Food Wars a little bit closer to my heart, considering that this was one of the only few animes that I've watched in recent years where I actually read the manga first, before I even knew it was going to be an anime. In fact, I loved the first season of Food Wars so much that I completely forgot to put it on my top 5 best list of last year. So, essentially Food Wars Season 2 is me making up for not putting Food Wars Season 1 on my best list last year. Like I said, Food Wars Season 2 is literally a continuation of the plot that goes on in the first season, meaning it picks up right where it left off. So if you're new to Food Wars, go watch the first season first and then go to the second season. Because it was such a smooth transition to first to second season, I felt like I had to put it on this list, not just because I kinda effed up last year, but because it was a really good story that helped develop the characters even more into these crazy food-obsessed kids that I know and love now. It's over-the-top Japanese Iron Chef! And it's great! I will, however, suggest, because the food is described so well and it's animated in beautiful detail, not watching this anime hungry. It's like going to the grocery store hungry. It's not the best idea ever because all of a sudden you think you can cook. And if you're anything like me, you can't. Food Wars Season 2. I seriously cannot stress eating before you watch this. You know how it's like you're not supposed to swim after you eat? Yeah, it's kind of the opposite here. Eat before you watch.
Number 3.
Man, this was an anime I did not think I would end up liking as much as I did. Showa is the story of an old Rakugo master telling the story of his youth to one of his students. To put it bluntly, Showa is an anime period drama based in pre- and post-World War II. Which, yeah, I could kind of see how the whole pre- and post-World War II period drama would get tiring, considering that it's been overdone not just on America's version of how things went down, but also Japan's version of how things went down. I could see how you could get tired of it, but Showa does it differently because it doesn't focus on World War II or really any outside influences at all. Instead, it focuses on what it needs to, and that is Rakugo and its characters. For those of you who don't know, Rakugo is where a lone storyteller sits in the middle of a stage, little to no props, telling long, complex stories, most of the time playing one or more characters. And looking at how this anime portrays it and explains it, it's a very difficult art form to learn. I think that's what I like about this anime so much. It not only explains why the people that do this art form decide to go into it, but also shows the nuances of the characters as they're performing. You see, in the anime, while they're performing on stage, they just sit. There's literally very little movement going on, but you can see it in their face. And that's where I think I like this anime so much, is just how their faces animate when they're doing these stories. It's not extreme emotions, but it's subtlety. Subtlety in their emotions and how you can tell they've just changed from one character to the other. And on top of that, seeing these characters' personal lives and how they grow as people make you really invested and and just want to see them succeed. Despite the fact that Showa does end up kind of doing the same thing that ReZero did, which is have a very open end and kind of hint at a season 2, the reason it's a little bit higher on this list is because I felt a lot more invested in these characters than I ever did in Natsuki. And I mean that on a more personal level, speaking as someone that has kind of done performance art before. Performing on stage a lot does kind of affect the person you are, and the people around you and your relationships, and that's kind of what Rakugo does to the main characters in the story. Admittedly, Showa is not going to be for everybody, but if you find yourself a little bit of a history junkie or just kinda needed to fill the void now that Downton Abbey's been over for a while, I definitely suggest this one out. Showa Genkuro Rakugo Shinju. God, I hope I pronounced that right.
Number 2.
Okay, anybody that follows me on Twitter probably saw this anime coming from a mile away. They were just waiting to see what number it landed on. Although, I'm not gonna lie, when I first heard of Yuri on Ice, I thought, wow, another sports anime with yaoi bait that's probably not gonna have any payoff whatsoever. Oh, and it's about male figure skating, literally one of the gayest sports a man can do. This is gonna be horrible. But, to my shock, and honestly, the entirety of the internet shock, this anime actually grew on people. And not just in a yaoi fanbait kind of way. Yuri on Ice is a story of Yuri Katsuki, an ice skater that's deeply considering retiring from the sport that he's loved so much since he was a kid. But as luck would have it, when he's honestly at his lowest point, one of his heroes from ice skating, Victor, decides he's gonna be his coach for the next season, and that he's going to win the Grand Prix final. Now, I can completely understand how to some this seems really stupid, and if you've ever seen any ice skating movie ever really played out, but trust me, This follows the rule of the 3 episodes. For those of you who don't know, the rule of 3 episodes is essentially watching 3 episodes of an anime and waiting to see if you're gonna drop it or keep going. Yuri on Ice is a perfect example of keep going, because this anime definitely does start to pick up after its 3rd episode. The way these characters grow and change is not only done by great character development inside conversations, but it's also done with, well, their ice skating. You see, the animation for the skating portions were done with the help of real ice skaters. Every single routine in this anime was specifically made for Yuri on Ice, and it was animated with the help of real ice skaters. So anytime you see an ice skating routine in the anime, that's a real ice skater. And a lot of people think that would get boring watching the same routines over and over again, but because the characters each have their own style, no two really feel the same. And because the ice skating world is just explained very well, it definitely gets you invested in the anime. Think about it. You get invested in male figure skating. When in anybody's life is somebody gonna be invested in male figure skating? The animation is great, the music is catchy, and for some reason there's a South Park reference in the anime. Of course, that may have something to do with the fact that South Park, very randomly put a Yuri on Ice reference in one of their episodes. The internet's a weird place. But in all honesty, I think that says something about this anime, that it is so popular that Matt and Trey of South Park had to put a little reference in one of their episodes about it. And then Yuri on Ice made a reference to them as JJ's having a flashback and for some reason he's dressed like Cartman. Like I said, the internet's a strange and beautiful place. Although, the one downside to this anime is that it's kind of owned by Funimation and it's part of their simuldub program. Yeah. Don't watch this anime dubbed.
Hello, Yuri. Starting today, I'm going to be your new coach. You're going to get to the Grand Prix final, and you're going to win.
Yuri on Ice. You will ship. You will ship so hard.
Number 1.
You remember when I said 2016 was one of the more better years of anime? Well, that all started with Erased. Erased is the story of Satoru. For some reason, he can go back in time to a certain point where he can stop deadly incidents from happening, like a kid getting run over or preventing a murder. So, when he finds his mother dead in his apartment and for some reason he's blamed for it, Satoru essentially goes back in time 18 years prior to his 10-year-old body to help find the guy that kidnapped and killed a bunch of girls when he was 10. And I honestly could say more about this plot, but going into any more of it I feel like would ruin the anime for a lot of people. Erased is just a really good mystery with loving characters and relationships. And when Satoru is in his younger body, you can really see little differences he tries to make from when he was a kid to help save his friends and his mom. And I think that's what got to me the most. You see, I'm actually really close to my mom, so to see an anime parent just act like, well, a parent, but a good parent at that, was a nice change of pace. Not only that, but you can really tell he's trying his hardest not only to save what is going to happen to his mom in the future, but to make up for the mistakes he didn't notice when he was an actual 10-year-old kid. And I think in a way, sometimes we wish we could do that. We wish we saw things differently and thought differently than when we were kids, but that can't always be the case because, well, unlike Satoru, we can't go back in time. Which I feel like because it taps into that I wish I could go back feeling sometimes, that just gets you all the more invested and you just want to see Satoru figure out this mystery and just, in the end, save everybody that he can. Again, going into any more plot-wise about this anime would go into major spoil territory, but I can't recommend this anime enough. It started out what was a great year for anime, and that is why it's number 1 on my top 5 list of 2016. So, that's my best list. But of course, with every good anime that came out, it was probably a really shitty one. So, till next time, I'm the SuperAnimeGirl. And I'll see you in my worst of 2016 list.